Morning. It's great to be here with you folks again on this incredibly sunny day on the coast of Mississippi. We had some pretty torrential thunderstorms and some tornado warnings that went through the state last night. So send us some good energy. But today I think I'm going to make us all just maybe a little bit uncomfortable. I want to share a little bit about one of my great interests, and I think loves, is really the civil rights movement and how the civil rights movement informs movements for equity and justice today. And I've had one staff person ask me why I wear this Black Lives Matter button, which comes from United Church of Christ's national offices. And part of my answer to them, it was quite long because we had an incredibly great discussion, but I said, well, I'm going to keep wearing it until it really matters, right? Until Black lives do matter, because all lives aren't going to matter until Black lives matter. And 2 years ago, when I came through Biloxi, I had an opportunity to kind of share in the history of the anniversary of the Wade-ins, where the beaches in Biloxi were desegregated. And it was fascinating because I found out the deep history of the Back Bay Mission. And the Back Bay Mission, some of the staff and some of the clergy that were United Church of Christ around the area actually were a part of that Wade-in to desegregate the beaches. And so that was one of my experiences here that was an unknown part of the history and the story of the civil rights movement that I found out, especially this connection with Back Bay Mission. I had been attending the Mississippi Veterans of the Civil Rights Movement event that was held in Jackson, Mississippi for several years in a row. And it was held at Jackson State, which is a historically black university. And there's another university called Tougaloo in Jackson, and that is also a historically black university, started by some of our Congregationalist brothers and sisters who said that black folk need an education. And so the first night, actually, of the Mississippi Veterans of the Civil Rights Movement is always the women's night. It's the mothers and daughters and women of the movement. And I remember sitting there on the very first one that I attended and hearing black mothers talk about their black boys and the warnings they would give their black boys and children about how they're to live around police officers in the police department. And I found that really, really enriching and really eye-opening. This was many years ago. And that was one of the reasons I really got involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, especially when we see things like Breonna Taylor, right? That we just celebrate a year anniversary, so to speak, Louisville, Kentucky. And we're reminded, here it is, right? These are the core issues in our community and our systems. And then right now in Minnesota, of course, in the Twin Cities, they're determining who the jurors will be for the individual who killed George Floyd. And so there's a lot of these intersections right now, right? Intersections of race, and we're hearing stories right now about our Asian American friends that are being earmarked and really tragically killed in Atlanta simply because they're Asian Americans, right? And because of bigotry and violence against people of color or people that are different than kind of what is considered, in a sense, the norm in this country, the white race. MLK said, and I always found this interesting, that one of the most dangerous groups to the movement for equity and justice for Black Lives Matter and for black people and people of color were really moderate white people or even liberal white people who really don't do anything and don't say anything. So today, that was really my subject and my commitment to Black Lives Matter. And as I've been back here in Mississippi, there isn't a huge movement of Black Lives Matter, and we're going to try to really work with that to resurrect that. I do want to also say that in Phoenix, I was a part of the Police Department Advisory Committee. And I learned a lot about the police department and the culture of policing. And that police officers, in many ways, have to wear so many hats. And a couple of our staff here at Back Bay Mission are actually married or partnered to police officers or engaged to police officers. And I think, again, here I've also learned, right, from them, that the police officers need to deal with people that are experiencing homelessness, with people with mental health issues. They have to address a whole variety of issues out on the streets and in our community. And it's really critical for police officers to be trained, right, to wear these many hats, because that's really difficult for them. And so I'm not so much as somebody who would say defund the police, but I'd say train the police, like we all need training, ongoing training on how to deal with each other and how to deal with people groups, right? And so one of the things I want to talk about really briefly is some of my experience with Bell Hooks, who's a Black author who has written a lot of interesting, amazing books about love, about class, about race, about what it's like growing up as a Black woman in America. And she has this one book in particular that's been really, really impressive. It's a short book. I'd encourage you to pick up a copy if you can. And it's called Where We Stand, Class Matters. And Bell Hooks really says it's not so much about race, but it's about class, and that we have a clear class system in the United States and America. Which brings me back to Back Bay Mission. Is the people that we work with generally at Back Bay are people that are really, really challenged. We would say they're probably low class, right? They're not middle class, they're not high class, but they've either lost a job or they've been homeless or they can't pay their bills. A whole variety of issues for people. And I'd like you to think about that for a moment, that in America, in the United States, we certainly do have a class system. And our call here at Back Bay Mission is to really help people and help people out of poverty. We have a program that we're going to reignite now post-COVID, especially as more people have the vaccine and we can be in bigger groups, hopefully in the near future. We have a program called Bridges Out of Poverty. And I think that's a program that would really honor somebody like Bell Hooks, who says it's really about class and it's about helping people and bridging people out of places of poverty. So I'd encourage you today to pick up a copy of that book or to go on a website and check it out. There's lots of reviews on the book and lots of quotes from Bell Hooks. And by the way, she spells her name with a small b and a small h. So I thank you for joining us today. That's something that I really am passionate about and wanted to talk about. And I think Back Bay Mission being an organization that's been really flexible and has responded to the needs of people historically as the needs of people have changed right throughout its 100-year history. I mean, it started out really working with the children of the Fisher people, the people that have moved here that were immigrants, that were migrants, moving here to be a part of the fishing culture and fishing industry, that found themselves living in poverty after they moved here. So they would feed the children, educate the children, take the children to Sunday school, and really their ministry at Back Bay Mission has exploded beyond that, as it was started by Congregationalists and United Church of Christ. And so we honor their history, we honor their legacy, and we continue to address the issues of our culture, of our city, of the coast here in Mississippi. So thank you for being a part of that journey. I know that you can respond on Facebook to this. I'd encourage you to respond and share your thoughts about race, share your thoughts about class, share your thoughts about the Black Lives Matter movement, and just the ongoing work of equity and equality and justice that we do here at Back Bay, and that I'm confident you're doing in your own place, in your own context. So thanks for joining me, and we will see you next week, and have an awesome day.